for this big budget of rekindled hope that everybody expects a lot, particularly with regards to rebuilding Lagos. Now, over the years, budgeting has remained the common accounting tool government, companies, organizations, and other institutions use for planning and controlling what they must do to satisfy the people, customers, and succeed in governance. In a bid to rebuild lost assets of states, advance its economic growth, and expand opportunities for residents to flourish despite the economic challenges caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and the End SARS protest. Lagos State government plans to spend a total of 1.16 trillion naira in its 2021 budget. As I said earlier, tagged Budget of Rekindled Hope. Now, the state projected a monthly target revenue of 60.318 billion naira. Internally generated revenue IGR for fiscal year 2021 so as to deliver substantial economic growth across the state. The Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, Mr. Sam Egube, spoke extensively on what should be expected. He also compared the 2020 budget to the 2021 budget, highlighting the fundamentals and the assumptions and what is expected of all of this spending plan. Take a listen.
It's important that we see how we did in the past so that we know whether the future holds the promise which we give. In terms of highlight, we didn't know when we entered 2020 that COVID was lurking around the corner. But once it did, as reasonable leaders, we felt it was important for us to review our strategy. We put the themes agenda under review, and it stood out strong. It was still relevant. And all we needed to do was to review the budget somewhat downwards, and then to bring forward certain aspects of the budget and of the themes agenda that were important. Because for us, what it was that we needed to maintain a very strong pandemic response. We needed to rethink the way we are going to live together, drive the economy, and drive the outcomes of our government, haven't taken deep considerations for the headwinds that we were experiencing. The result of that was a recurrent expenditure drop by about 10% to 413, and a revenue revision down to 812 billion. That was a 24% reduction of about 250 billion, leaving us with a ratio between capital and recurrent expenditure of 55-45. I'm happy to announce to you that despite the huge challenges, the economic and social headwinds which COVID-19 brought, together with the hijack of the End SARS protestations, we still drove the economy of Lagos very strongly. We kept our hands on the steering wheel and remained focused, and we were able to achieve a overall budget performance of about 86%, with a total revenue performance of about 93%. This, in our view, is quite remarkable, especially given the nature of the challenges we faced as a people and we faced as a state. And so there were great performances along all the sectors, basically, especially in finance, health, education, transportation, agriculture, infrastructure, and the environment generally. In finance, one major thing we did was to renegotiate our finance book to try and gain significant amount of traction in terms of our interest rate reduction. Rates were about 20% as at that time, and we were able to negotiate it down to 12%. And in some cases, we achieved single-digit interest rate. That threw out a savings of about 12 billion. We also undertook the review of the 2018 land use charge law, basically to moderate the rates and to simplify it its application in line with the yearnings of the people of Lagos. And thankfully, we achieved that completely in 2020. In addition to other initiatives around the EGI system and trying to digitize it, to make it more efficient. So the EGI system is moving on. We then launched the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority electronic platform, which we believe will bring a lot of organization and transparency into the sector and help us also provide better service for the people of Lagos and in turn increase the revenue coming out of those sectors. In the health sector, we know that the quality of healthcare is key under the team's agenda. We had attacked it in the pillar H, which spoke to healthcare, and it spoke to the environment. Those two pillars actually drove the idea that it was not only the curative part of health that was going to be important, but also the preventive part and the way we dealt with our environment. The health budget was about 97.26 billion for 2020, but there was an additional 20 billion, which was a special COVID-19 intervention response that brought the entire health spend to about 117 billion. So in this sector, there are ongoing constructions relating to the furnishing and equipping of the maternal and child center at Badagry and Ekbe, ongoing renovation works at the general hospitals at Isolo, Ebutemeta, and Harvey Road. We are undertaking and we have begun the construction of the new Mercy Children's Hospital. The idea for us is that when that hospital is complete, we believe it will be the largest in sub-Saharan Africa. If you are going to be a part of Lagos, then you must be audacious in the way you think and in the goals that we set for ourselves. We also undertook the redesign and the construction of a 280-bed general hospital at Ojo, and increased to 205 the number of empaneled health facilities on the Lagos State Health Management Agency. What that will do is that it provides an increase in the number of places people can go to under the state insurance health scheme. And health is also a service. And without having enough people in terms of the ratio of the healthcare workers to the patient, even if you had all the facilities and infrastructure, the service tends to fail. So the government also recruited additional 760 health workers to boost the service of our healthcare systems in 2020. Education was another place that we felt we must move on. We've also always mentioned that human capital development was going to be very core in the way we drive Lagos State. It's our belief in Lagos State that it doesn't matter how much natural resources you have, and you can see that in the challenges we face in the nation. It is the resource we have within our brain, our cerebral capacity, that actually gives meaning to all of those natural resources that we speak about. Therefore, Lagos State prioritizes the education sector, basically to drive it by consistently training the teachers, improving on the infrastructures, using technology to aid their development, and then continuously renovate, rehabilitate, and and improve the environment of learning in our school system. In terms of overview, the budget size is 1.635 trillion, which really can approximate to 1.64. It's made up of 702 billion in capital spend, focusing a lot on development, because what we spend, we must account for it in the value it delivers in the future, which is why a significant part of our borrowing, actually the entire part of our borrowing, right, is focused very squarely on capital expenditure, and 460 billion of that is recurrent. Now, what that means is that our capital to recurrent ratio is 60-40. I actually would like to tell you that despite the challenges we faced last year, we still were able to hold out our capital to recurrent mix at 55-45. You will know that not many other jurisdictions were able to try. Now, the revenue side of the budget is 971 billion. And of course, that, when you look at it compared to the budget side, it throws out a budget deficit of about 102 billion, which will be funded by internal loans, by bonds, and through external loans. But in terms of strategy, we are trying to reduce our risk exposure. So a lot of the loans that you'll be seeing are going to be loans in Naira. And sometimes, even when we are negotiating with international parties, we want them to be able to give us in Naira to protect the state from foreign exchange exposure risk as much as possible. That revenue size is made up of internally generated revenue of 723 billion, capital receipts of about 71 billion, and federal transfers of 175 billion. Yes, the expectation of this budget is quite audacious, but that's what it takes to live in Lagos. You need to have that spirit of courage, that spirit of audacity and determination, and you need to resolve in your heart that you must move ahead and reach for the skies. Nevertheless, we have moderated significantly our expectations from federal transfers. Right, based on our 2020 run rate, we should close federal transfers at around 178 billion. But we have a more conservative view, and we have kept it at 175 billion in 2021. So it is not just senseless audacity, right? It's audacity with a lot of reason and a lot of deliberation.